interviews, also special behind-the-scenes interviews, excerpts of films that we never released, some of the interviews in their entirety that are in some of our upcoming films. This is going to be a really special event, and I hope you'll join us in this, because we won't save the world by this money bomb. We won't save the world by this 27-hour broadcast. But it will be a little piece of that overall victory against tyranny, because it is the spirit of liberty, the spirit of 1776, the spirit of resistance that will bring down this corporate tyranny that is setting up world government openly. And I'll close with this. As the French philosopher more than 150 years ago, Victor Hugo, said, no army can stop an idea whose time has come. We've done our best, and we've had incredible success against tyranny. But at the end of the day, in the final equation, it is up to you. Has the idea of a rebirth of liberty and freedom and a renaissance for all to live their lives as they see fit and to be left alone by an all-powerful state, is that an idea whose time has come? As Patrick Henry said, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. I'll see you live October 14th at 11 a.m. Central for the 27-hour marathon transmission against tyranny.
Well, that was the voice of Alex Jones. He's, as he said, this is the money bomb or fundraising tribe. So if you're interested in getting alternative news, don't hesitate, help him. You get the news instead of getting the news from, I don't know, Fox News or whatever.
If you don't want to donate, you can still buy stuff that'll help him reach his goals.
Yes,
you know, memberships to the TV show, and tons of great Patriot products that he's offering.
Yes, there are actually lots of DVDs, lots of other things that number one, they would inform you about the information that you don't know. But in the meantime, my dear friend Randall just got here, and basically you had us because, like I said, you just realized he joined us. And as you can see, Sam Lugulo is the producer today, and the other days also. He's fixing everything, and you just connect the audio. I don't know if the audio is working. How are you doing, Randall?
Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure is mine, and thank you for coming to the show. So how have you been? How are things going for you in the organic line of business and field?
I'll be honest with you, it's been very challenging lately.
Yes, I bet.
It's very, very difficult to make a living doing something that really benefits people. It seems like the system is just rigged against that.
Yes.
I was reading something recently where it said, if you watch the media, you can learn all kinds of ways to violently make money.
Yes.
To make money with violence.
Yes.
There does seem to be a connection when you try to do things to support life and live people. It doesn't seem to be real profitable. So it's been challenging.
As a matter of fact, my previous show, The Echo, was about that.
Really?
We showed a clip that was regarding to the police raid in California against the organic store.
Oh, really?
And it looked like
drug bust.
Drug bust rather than a raid,
Wow.
And that was very interesting because basically my conclusion on that was that the big corporations that make artificial stuff, they feel threatened by the stuff that you are doing, people like you are doing. You know,
sometimes I feel mixed blessings here. As long as I'm struggling and not making money, I'm probably not a big threat to them. They're not going to haul me away. But if I ever get successful, then I can look forward to experiencing what those people experience.
Sure.
So it feels like a catch-22 either way.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true. And that brings us to talking about organic and being healthy and eating healthy, brings us to this point that not only they don't want us to eat healthy, that's another dilemma, but also they're adding stuff not only in the water, in the soil, and now in the air. They're spraying it with, and I talk about it when I had this, I still have the radio show, but I talk about it on my radio show, the Echo on Radio, on WVQC 95.7. By the way, check that out on every Friday between 1 to 2. But I mentioned that maybe 6 months ago, and Sam actually was on that show. Sam was the co-producer on that show. And basically some scientists suggested that if you add this aluminum barium is sprayed into the air, it would have like a reflective effect around the earth, and so the sunlight wouldn't warm up the air,
Oh my God.
And so it's a discussion that two gentlemen actually having with Alex Jones again regarding this situation and what we could do to stop it, what we could do to stop these mad scientists and Dr. Strangeloves.
Get back into the chemtrails, Ever Griffin. You've talked about this. I mean, what's your breakdown of the level of the explosive awakening we're seeing? And the globalists are openly saying they want to start censoring the web now.
Well, I think you've pretty well covered it. It is explosive. It's exponential. And on this issue of geoengineering or chemtrails, whatever you want to call it, it was already such of massive proportions that I didn't realize it. I thought, from my personal experience, that we'd have a hard row to hoe there in the beginning, getting people interested in it. And I think, as I mentioned before, when I put it up on our little website, which doesn't have anywhere near the exposure as yours, and said, well, we're interested in doing a video. Anybody want to help us? Why, we were inundated with responses, immediate responses. I mean, within 2 days, we had this whole thing done from all over the world. People were, contacting us from all of the, basically the NATO countries where they have all the spraying going on. So, yeah, it started off with such an explosion that I couldn't believe it, and it's gotten even more so. I got a phone call just before the show here from a fellow in Toronto. There's a bookstore there. He says, we want to do a screening. Is that okay? I said, okay, of course it's okay. We're delighted. And so people are just volunteering to do the kinds of things that in the past we used to have to promote, We'd have to go out and say, will you do this and will you do that? And we want to promote this. And now they're coming to us and saying, how can we help? So we've really touched a nerve here. And I think you're right, Alex. If you want to go on the road or put something to show just for the media purposes, just show the massiveness of this movement, I think it probably would work out exactly as you said.
It's incredible. We're going to come back and get into human experimentation just to show, they don't care if aluminum hurts you. They don't care. This is part of their larger plan. They call it killing more than two birds with one stone. Don't forget, we're making this search term #1 today, you the listeners, and it is huge explosions. That will lead them to the new videos released by NIST of firefighters saying bombs in the buildings. Here's the headline from prisonplanet.com. Obama administration pressures ISP to censor websites because they haven't been able to pass their Cybersecurity Act where everything's wired through the federal government. It's already wired. They just want to be able to officially do it. We've got this article from mainstream news, is what Paul Watson sources, and they say, we want to just be able, and in fact, you saw Lieberman say this last year, he wants his office to be able to tell YouTube when to take something down. There's no judge, there's no jury, there's no free speech. Everything's censored by Herr Lieberman. And, you know, that's the scary thing here, G. Edward Griffin, before we get back into chemtrails and your new film, is that we are exponentially growing. We're going to win. We can see the end of the finish line. We're actually ahead of the globalists. They're trying to come out in the open, intimidate us, tell us to shut up, make us think that they're invincible. You know, the Borg can't be stopped. You will be assimilated, and resistance is futile. But they are really putting up trial balloons and promoting it in Europe as well to really start censoring people.
Well, there's no question about that. They've been talking about that for decades, haven't they? I remember when the Internet first became a reality, a lot of my friends, some of whom are pretty well known, would say, don't worry about it. We've won because they can't censor the Internet. It's just physically impossible. I said, are you kidding? They can do whatever they want. These guys run the governments of the world, and they have the police power. They can intervene in some way. Oh, no, you're wrong, Ed. The Internet is different. Well, anyway, we've seen it all change, and now, yeah, they've got the technology. They can throw the switches. They can pass the laws and make anybody that doesn't comply guilty of some kind of a heinous crime, and away they go. But that's the bad side. The good side is that the movement of awareness that we're discussing is growing in exponential fashion. And there comes a point, I don't know where it is, but there's a tipping point where they just can't get away with it anymore without some kind of massive negative reaction that shows up in the political arena. That's why they're planning to, I think they're planning to have some kind of a major crisis event so as to distract from all that and regain that momentum in favor of let's have more security, let's have more police action here to protect us from this dreaded enemy. It could be a terrorist attack, it could be a biological attack. God only knows what they might dream up.
Global warming, global economic collapse, global poverty, they've always got a solution. Give the central banking families and the royalty the power to set up a private world government that sets all the rules and levies taxes.
Yeah, and that's all for our good, you see. And just like this global warming theme, but they're not doing that to control the population or to make money or increase their political power. They're doing it for us. They're doing it to save our planet, to improve crops and all of that nonsense that they dream up. And unfortunately, many people believe it because they want to believe it, They're in love with authority.
They're in love with licking boots. I guess they don't feel good about themselves. Briefly, before we go to break and get back into the chemtrails and human experimentation and your discoveries on aluminum and the patents and all the rest of it with this aerosol program that's now starting to come out of the shadows into the open because we've been exposing it. But briefly, dealing with 9/11, we've seen all these new terror alerts ahead of the election. Are you concerned about false flag events?
I'm very concerned about that, Alex, because, anybody that's been following this movement for any amount of time knows that that's one of the most powerful cards they have up their sleeve. When it used to be that when totalitarian leaders were getting in trouble and losing support at home, they would start a war. That was the traditional time-tested method of bringing the population back under the control of the ruler. Well, now it's a little refinement on that. It's not just a war, but it's a war that's triggered by some kind of a false flag event, so that the people are angry. They think, we've been attacked, we've been injured, we've been insulted. We can't stand by and just let this happen. Now let us get behind our glorious leader and fight back.
His name is G. Edward Griffin. He is the producer of What in the World Are They Spraying? It starts shipping on or right after October 22nd. Get your copies first at Infowars.com. Powerful film. Stay with us. Okay, for the next 45 minutes or so, I need to do the last segment on a news blitz because there's just so much I haven't gotten to, but this is a big issue. A secret country, it's in all the NATO countries. It isn't in other countries that aren't NATO controlled, we've noticed. The Anglo-American establishment nations, huge aerosol spraying weather modification program, but that's only one part of it. And now they're coming out with more and more of it. In fact, did you guys find Aaron's big blue folder with all the documentation. Well, let's call him and get him up here. I know he worked till about midnight last night because I meant to have that today. I'll have to run back and get in his file cabinets during the break because I want to show you just some of the patents and the admissions. We'll also take a few calls before they leave us on chemtrails specifically, 1-800-259-9231. But Michael J. Murphy, again, is a journalist and filmmaker, and he's produced this film.